You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
So the owner of a bar has to hire a new piano player, and he discovers a guy who not only plays, but writes his own music. So the owner decides to give the guy a chance and hires him. And he comes into work that first night. And the owner says, "Hey, let me hear one of your originals." He goes, "All right." So he plays this song, and it's absolutely beautiful. Just this gorgeous song. And the owner goes, I have never heard anything like that before. What do you call it? And the guy says, "Oh, that's, I loved her so much I had to hit her with my car." The owner kind of surprised by that goes, "Well, that's an odd name. Could you play something else?" So the guy plays another song, and it's even better than the first. It's like the sky opens up and a dove flies down. It's that good. It's just this beautiful song. The owner asks him, a little leery now, goes, "What's the name of that one?" And the pianist says, "Oh, that one's called I Had Diarrhea So Bad My Shoes Squeaked." And now the owner's like, "Well, okay, well, that's an even weirder name, but I'm just going to go over here and listen, and you just play. Okay, you just play." So he goes, sits at the bar, and the piano player knocks out like 5 or 6 more songs, and then he takes a break, and he goes to the restroom. And when he comes back out, the owner looks over him and goes, "Oh, hang on." Quickly goes over to him and goes, "Hey, your fly is down and we can see everything." And the pianist goes, "Know it? Hell, I wrote it." Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. It is January 11th, 2024. I'm still getting used to that 2024 date. That just seems so weird. Because the 90s still seem like yesterday, and now we're in 2024. That just totally blows my mind. So you want to stick around today. We got a great lineup. We got Miss Jen is up with What's in the Box, and then we've got the Geek Chat, and they've got a bunch of new books they're going to be reviewing. And then tonight we've got some more Sketch Up with Mel and Mog and their guests. So it's quite a night. You guys want to stick around for all of that here on The Experience. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons as we get things kicked off with the news. By the way, hello to Ed. Good to see you. All right, starting off with the news. Now, this was the interesting one that broke the other day. Lucasfilm on Tuesday said that there's a new Star Wars film, The Mandalorian and Grogu, is in the works, and it's going to be directed by and produced by the Mandalorian creator, Jon Favreau. Now, of course, details of the plot of completely under wraps, but it will commence production sometimes this year. Now, in addition to Favreau, producers on the project include Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni. Now, it's not confirmed whether or not Pascal will reprise the role as Mandalorian yet, but he did recently respond to the announcement in a very positive way. So I'm thinking he's sticking around for that. Now, Kennedy has said about the project, says, "I have loved telling stories set in the rich world that George Lucas created. This prospect of bringing the Mandalorian and his apprentice Grogu to the big screen is extremely exciting. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have ushered in Star Wars, two new and beloved characters, and the new story is a perfect fit for the big screen. Now, The Mandalorian Grogu leads an ongoing feature development slate at Lucasfilm that also includes three other films that were previously announced. But the thing is that with Favreau focusing on this, people are wondering what Dave Filoni's doing. And they kind of said it in the announcement, but kind of in a weird backhanded way. They said that Filoni will be directing a film, and he's also starting work on the second season of Ahsoka, which then confirms that we're getting a season 2 of Ahsoka, which had not been confirmed. So that's a weird way to confirm a second season, but the other movies in production besides Favreau's Mandalorian and Dave Filoni's is a film by James Mangold and Shireen Obedchino's film as well. One of them is supposed to be looking at the very dawn of the Jedi, so all the way in the High Republic era, and the other one is supposed to be moving forward with Rey. Now, this will be the first movie, whichever one comes out first will be the first movie to hit since Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker back in 2019. So, all right, fans of The Last of Us, well, there's been some major casting. 3 new additions that were expected have been announced. The first is Caitlin Dever from the series Dope Sick, who will play the most prominent new character of Abby. Young Mazzino from Beef will play Jesse, who's a pillar of his community who puts everyone else's needs before his, sometimes at a terrible cost. And the final addition is Isabel Merced, who actually worked with Dever previously in the film Rosalind. Merced will play Dina, Ellie's new romantic interest and Jesse's ex. Dina is kind of a freewheeling spirit whose devotion to Ellie will be tested by the brutality of the world they inhabit. Now, of course, they're joining star Pedro Pascal, who plays Joel, and Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie. When it was revealed that The Last of Us' second season will be based on the 2020 The Last of Us Part 2, fans' attention immediately focused on Abby, one of the game's 2 playable central characters alongside Ellie. So, fans of the games definitely were looking forward to Abby, and we know that's Caitlin Dever now. All right, moving on. Rachel Brosnahan, who was cast as Lois Lane in Superman Legacy and will be sharing the screen with David Cornsweet as Clark Kent. Well, she was doing an interview on the Golden Globes red carpet and gave a little teaser about her role in the new DC universe that James Gunn is constructing along with Peter Safran. She said, "We've been having a lot of great conversations, David and I, with James Gunn. We've been talking a lot about what the project fits into the canon of Supermans that we know. So hopefully we'll be putting our own stamp on things." Now, Gunn is assured that the Superman film is not an origin story, and instead is going to tell the story of Superman's journey to reconcile his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as Clark Kent on Smallville. He is the embodiment of truth, justice, the American way, guided by human kindness in a world that sees kindness as old-fashioned. JD says, "Please say hi in chat if you like. We love to see who's out here." Yeah, if you're in, please chime in, ask questions and stuff. I'm all good with that. This is live, so you can ask me questions. All right, moving on. Wow, I did a typo there on my notes. All right, Paramount is moving forward with the Star Trek IP. Obviously, they're doing like 1,000 things, but this is actually going to be a new film, and it's going to be helmed by Toby Haynes, who recently worked on, oh, hey, Preston, who worked on the Andor series for Star Wars. The new film is going to be written by Seth Grahame-Smith, and while, of course, as always, plot details are being kept under wraps, But the reports say that the project is an origin story that takes place decades before the 2009 Star Trek film that rebooted the franchise. Insiders also say that the final chapter in the main series, Star Trek IV, remains in active development. So it looks like we're going to get a prequel, the start of Starfleet, and we're going to get a fourth, I think they call it the Kelvin group, the one with Chris Pine. We're supposed to get a fourth one there. Jay says, I was lurking while doing some videos, but how's it going, everyone? Good to see you, Jay. All right, bouncing back to DC and James Gunn. The word is that DC Studios is planning to test actresses soon to play Supergirl, excuse me. And that Millie Alcock, Amelia Jones, and Meg Donnelly are three of the names that are kind of at the top of the list. Now, there's a chance that the studio might just come out and make a straight offer to a star, but as of right now, everything seems to be pointing towards actually doing screen tests like they did for Superman and Lois Lane. And those screen tests are likely to take place within the next month or so. Now, Gunn will definitely be part of the process, as this character is expected to debut via a cameo in a DC project that isn't Supergirl. Now that might mean that she's going to pop up in Superman Legacy or in another project, but we'll get to see her before we see the movie. If you're not familiar with the actresses that were mentioned, Millie Alcock is best known for her lead role in Game of Thrones spinoff House of the Dragon, where she plays Princess, that's a tough name, Rhaenyra Targaryen. Amelia Jones was in Paulo Sorrento's Youth and was part of the Netflix series Lock and Key. And Meg Donnelly starred in Disney Channel's zombie franchise and is already the voice of Supergirl in the DC animated movies Legion of Superheroes and Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. So she's kind of got a leg up there being the voice of the enemy, but that's pre-Gunn, where everything post-Gunn or starting forward, if you voice the animated series, you do the live action. That doesn't count for the stuff before Gunn sign on. So, all right, that catches everybody up on the news. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our first break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Marvel's Echo, the history of the character. Then we're going to talk about the new series. And we're even going to get into how it fits into the MCU. So come back in just a minute for the history of Echo.
Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find the link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do. And thanks for supporting the EXP.
Symphonic verses, Nocturne's romance. A song of romanticized darkness, dreaming dead by sleep.
By this time in our journey, we had been on the trail of a very elusive creature for about 96 hours. But all the hard work is about to pay off. Oh, crikey, there she is. Oh, by the markings, I'd say this one's at least a 9.8. Oh, she's a real beauty. A true mint copy. Oh, this one will make a fine slab on anyone's display wall. Oh, she's a feisty one, though. Look out, look out!
Mint Hunter Comics is the place to find that mint comic you've been searching for. Mint Hunter Comics, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, part of the experience.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Hey, good to see, wow, Reef the Sea Forever. Reef, I've not seen you before, but welcome. Triple B, good to see you. Preston says that it's 60s degree there's now. We're at the high of 37 tomorrow. Damn, Preston, where are you at? Because that's, what, a 23 degree drop? Damn. Yeah, Jay, that Mint Hunter spot was very good. Hadn't seen that one yet. So, all right. Let's see. Before we get into the Echo series, I want to mention I want to do a shout out. And I don't do this often, but I watch a lot of similar type shows on YouTube. You know, there's some guys that do deep dives into these things, and you watch the shows, you pick up as much as you can, and you watch other people's to try to see what you missed as well. And there's a channel called New Rock Stars that has very good Easter egg programs. I mean, they go way deep on these shows, way in a way that I don't. I usually go deeper into the comics than I do the shows, but they do a great job on that. But they've broken down all the Echo episodes. And I only had the chance to watch the first one so far. And I have got to give them credit because one of the big things in this series is Marvel truly embraces the history of the character. And the history, or the character of Maya Lopez, has a Native American background. Now, in the comics, she's Blackfoot tribe. But in the TV, in live action, she's actually part of the Choctaw. I feel like I'm saying that wrong, but I think it's right. Choctaw. That's it, Choctaw. The Choctaw Nation, and which is based out of Oklahoma. And they go really deep into it in the series. Well, I got to give credit to Jessica Simmons, who is doing the breakdowns. It's normally somebody else, but Jessica Simmons is doing the ones for Echo. And she is doing a fantastic job because she has dug into the Choctaw Nation, doing her research, getting deep into the mythology of the Choctaw, the history, reading all their websites, their languages. And I was really impressed with their coverage. So if you want to learn more about the Choctaw Nation, there's a lot of websites out there. There's some official ones, but Jessica Clemens does a really good job of breaking down how it specifically ties into the Echo series. And that's one of the things about the series that reminds me a little bit of the Miss Marvel series. I remember going into Miss Marvel thinking, I'm going to like the action, I'm going to like that. But, you know, I'm not going to care about the family drama. And, you know, the history and stuff isn't going to be that important to me. And realizing what I love the most about that was the family drama and all of the stuff having to do with the heritage, which just surprised me. I learned so much watching that show, and it made me look deeper into stuff. So they do that here too, which I find really good. Now, let me catch up on things here. JD says it's 45 here tonight. I don't live that far away from JD. Yeah, it was cold last night, and I had the window open and I had my fan going, and my poor mother came in to check on me and just about froze. It's like you could hang preserved meat in my room at night. It's that cold. Reef says, I'm on show number 3. It's a great show so far. Marvel and everyone involved went back to the story and roots. It's very cool. Okay, good. You're enjoying Echo? That's great. Jay says, truly is usually Eric Voss who does the Easter eggs. Yeah, Eric does most of them, but Eric recently had a baby, and Jessica Clemens is filling in on some of these. So, and she's doing a great job. Reef says, I own Daredevil 9, Echo at 9.8. Nice. Off the rack back then, Mack was a new artist. I can say the book stood out. Yeah. What David Mack was doing in that book really made it pop. And what's funny is Echo is actually considered the creation of, you would think she was the creation of David Mack and Brian Michael Bendis, but she's actually the creation of David Mack and Joe Quesada, which I thought was interesting. Reef says, yeah, it does get you interested in Native American peoples. Yeah, they do a really good job. But before we get into the series, if you're not that familiar with Echo, I'm going to give you a brief history on the character. And some of it is just we've been talking about. Echo is Maya Lopez, a.k.a. Echo. She first appeared in the pages of Daredevil number 9 back in 1999 and was created by Joe Quesada and David Mack. She is the adopted daughter of Wilson Fisk, a.k.a. the Kingpin, and was a supporting character in the Daredevil series for a while. She has gone on to become a bigger character in the Marvel Universe, but we're going to focus on how the stuff that ties into this series and where the character is now, because there's a lot of future stuff where she's tied into the Ronin suit. She even ends up with the Phoenix Force power. So there's a lot there. Yeah. JD says Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma released a specific website all about how Echo depicts Choctaw culture. And yeah, they really did bring in the Choctaw Nation. I mean, it's massive what they did, but it also doesn't feel like they're force feeding you. It just feels like this is a story we're telling. And I think it's brilliant. I love that part of it. I like the show for reasons I didn't expect. All right. So getting back to the comic character, she is of Native American descent. Like I said, in the comics, she's Blackfoot tribe, but in the TV series, it's Choctaw. She's also one of the few deaf characters in comics. As a young girl, Maya's father, Crazy Horse, was killed by Fisk, and then she was taken in by him and raised to be an assassin because of her ability. Now, her ability, it starts off, we see it as she's a pianist. And what it is that she watches someone play piano, and then she can play piano. So basically, her powers is the same as Taskmaster's in the comics. Now, they didn't really bring that power into the MCU when they brought Taskmaster, and they made it more of a computer program type thing. So I don't think we're ever going to get photographic reflexes in the MCU, but that's what they call it in the comics. And she doesn't have the same power in the TV series, but we're going to get to that. Now, so she can learn to fight and all this stuff just by watching somebody. As an adult, Kingpin decides to use Maya against his enemy, Daredevil, but he also knows that he's Matt Murdock. So he does this kind of a two-prong attack. He first sends Maya to try to convince Matt Murdock that Fisk is a good person because Maya believes that Fisk is a good person. And, he knows that genuineness will not come across as a lie because, Daredevil can tell when you're lying, or Matt Murdock can tell when you're lying. So that's going to throw him off. And of course, the two of them end up falling in love. Shared disabilities, stuff like that. But he also tells her that Daredevil is the one that killed her father. So now Maya is involved with Matt, but as Echo, she wants to hunt Daredevil. She goes to try to find his weakness, and as they fight, discovers that he's actually blind, and that he uses his heightened senses and attacks him in a way that would negate his powers. But in doing so, she ends up finding out that Daredevil is Matt Murdock, and Matt is able to convince her of the truth that it was the Kingpin that killed her father. Now, in revenge, Maya confronts and shoots Fisk in the face, leaving him blind, and this starts the chain of events that leads to the man's eventual downfall. So this was a whole big storyline in the comics. But that's where the Maya character comes from. Now, the character history, like I said, continues in the comics. She ends up working with Moon Knight for a while. She takes on the guise of Ronin. Now, little behind the scenes or inside baseball. When Brian Michael Bendis started on the New Avengers, he introduced the character of Ronin, and the idea was that this was a hero taking on a new disguise, and everybody knew it. And for the longest time, everybody thought it was Daredevil. And the truth was it was. It was always Bendis' plan that Ronin would be Daredevil. But so many people guessed it and called him out on it that in kind of a defensive move, he switched it to being Echo, which still works story-wise. But that's how Echo ended up being Ronin. Now, of course, that plays into the history of the Ronin. And then later on, there's this whole thing to get the power of the Phoenix Force. All these different people had it. Namor had it, whatever. And Maya's the one that's chosen to have it. But again, we're going to stick with the parts that parallel where she is in the comics for now. Now, in live action, give you the history on the character there. We meet Maya actually in the Hawkeye series, and she's played by Alaqua Cox, who is actually deaf and has another disability in that she lost her lower right leg below the knee. Now, they've added that to the character in the TV show, and it's a good addition. It works in. So Alaqua Cox. Now, Alaqua Cox was a brand new actress. So this is only the second thing she's done after the Hawkeye series. So she did the Hawkeye series, and now she does Echo. Now, she is told by Fisk now back in the MCU, she's told by Fisk, who's of course played by Vincent D'Onofrio, that Ronin killed her father. So Maya never becomes Ronin in the live action. Now, neither does Daredevil, but here, Ronin is disguise of Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, played by Jeremy Renner. And in the comics, after Echo gives up the Ronin disguise, Clint Barton takes it. So that's kind of following that. And we saw that in Avengers Endgame, that Hawkeye had become Ronin. So, and that's what the main story of Hawkeye series is that someone gets a hold of Kate gets a hold of the Ronin suit and uses it, and it all starts things up. Well, we find out that in live action, Ronin's the one that killed the Crazy Horse, and it's true, he did. But Hawkeye points out, or Clint points out to Maya, that it was Fisk who leaked the information to him, that basically Fisk wanted Crazy Horse dead. So with this information, it sets Maya on a different path. She ends up confronting first Kazi, her friend, goes against the Tracksuit Mafia and eventually confronts Kingpin and shoots him in the face. And that's where the Hawkeye series lines up. So that's where we're going into this series, is that Echo is, but the first episode's a little different because they really want you to be able to walk into this series not knowing anything. Hey, Ken, it's good to see you. And they do a good job of that because they pull some stuff from the Hawkeye series and merge it with new footage to create Echo's origin or Maya's origin. Now, this is filled with a lot of Choctaw history. And we see the basic origin story of the Choctaw. Now, when you're talking about Native American culture, the thing is that for the longest time, most of it wasn't written. It was told through stories and drawings. So you end up with a lot of variations on origin stories and stuff like that. So they've taken what's considered one of the purest or one of the most consistent stories, and we meet these different women through time that were part of the Choctaw Nation and their abilities. And it goes all the way back to where they were created from clay. There's a lot of symbolism. And it seems like this power travels along this family lineage that can go all the way back to the original Choctaw members. And that's what's established in the first episode, but also is established is Maya. We see her mother, how her mother dies. We see how Maya loses part of her leg. We see how she gets disconnected from her family, her heritage, because of the what causes her mom's death. We find out that it's a hit, that it's because her dad is involved against gangs. Someone tries to... we should probably put the spoiler thing up here, if we can, JD. Thank you. So, going to go into some spoiler territory. But the brakes on the truck are cut, and they end up crashing. And in doing so, it costs her mother's life, and it costs her leg. She's deaf, her mother's deaf, but everybody in the family knows sign language, ASL. And then from there, we watch as she grows up. We have cuts into scenes from Hawkeye where Crazy Horse now works in New York for the Tracksuit Mafia, for Wilson Fisk. We see that Fisk becomes involved in Maya's life, kind of becoming an uncle. When Crazy Horse is killed, he takes her in, kind of adopts her. We get all of that background. So the first episode really catches you up and takes you through the Hawkeye series. So if you're worried that you don't know the character, or you haven't watched the Daredevil shows, or you haven't watched Hawkeye, that you should go back and watch all of that, you don't need to. It does a really good job of catching things up. Now, one of the questions was, how much was this going to tie into the Netflix series? And they don't take any specific footage from the Netflix series. I wish they had, because I feel like that bond would have been a little stronger. Not so much from the storytelling point of view, but just because there's always been that question, are they canon? Are the Netflix series canon? And we're going to get back to that by the end of the show. There is things that tell us where it is now. But we see Maya growing up. We see her acting out. We see her falling under Fisk's tutelage, and we even get to the point where she gets assigned her first mission. And of course, it ends up bringing her into a fight with Daredevil. So we get it's been known that Daredevil is going to appear in the series. I will tell you now, he only appears in the first episode, but it's in a way that's very reminiscent of the Daredevil series because it's a brawl and it's done in almost like a one-take setup. It feels like one of the hallway fights, even though it's not a hallway, but they do a really good job of the first issue of making that connection. And we get little hints that Echo or Maya is a better fighter than we think she is. She's actually able to hold her own against Daredevil. Doesn't beat him, but doesn't get taken out either, where everybody else does, which is really impresses Kingpin and moves her up in the ranks, which is eventually where we find her running the Tracksuit Mafia in Hawkeye. So that's really where the first episode gets to. Besides seeing Daredevil, though, we see Fisk in a hospital bed on an IV. So we pick up, okay, that's where he's left off after being shot. We see she's coming to she left immediately and tries to go home to Tomahawk, Oklahoma, and that's where we pick up the series. So the first first episode really connects all the dots and takes us to the story. But it shows us her origin. It connects her to Kingpin. It connects her to the Choctaw tribe. We get the introduction of Daredevil, but then that's all the first episode. And then the real story takes place over the next 4 episodes. And we're going to talk about those, but I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk about the 4 episodes and how we set up Daredevil Born Again, how it fits in the MCU, and even the power changes. So we'll be right back.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Please stick around. We've got What's in the Box. We've got the Geek Chat, and we have SketchUp tonight. So we got a great lineup. You want to stick around for all that. Tomorrow we have Nick Barucci doing the original art experience. And if you want to get into collecting original art or you collect original art, that is a great show because Nick not only brings in some really good pieces, but he also brings in some pieces more geared towards the beginner, the new purchaser, kind of how to jump in. So Nick takes care of everybody there. And then, of course, we've got Friday Night Live with Nancy and the crew at Comics Unlimited. So I think we've got both tonight and tomorrow sorted for you. The weekend, go out and have some fun. All right, let's get back into the Echo series. I'm going to talk about the next 4 episodes as kind of a collective whole instead of trying to break them down individually. Echo, the series, it's a little different than what I expected, but it felt to me a little bit like the Jessica Jones series. She's not a character that you like. They're not trying to make you like her. They're not trying to make you sympathize with her. She's very big-headed. Yeah, she's a lot like Jessica Jones in that sense. So we meet her family around her. We see she kind of gets pulled into everything. But there's also moments that you go, that's interesting. You introduced that character, and then now that it's over, you go, and you did nothing with that character. But we know that this was a longer series than cut down. So I'm curious. Characters like there's this mortician doctor that gets introduced that sews up a wound for Maya, that it seems like they're setting her up for something else. And then we never see her again. And again, it's like, okay, so obviously she ended up on the cutting room floor. There's things in the trailer that don't appear in the series. So it is interesting that they did cut it down as much as they did, but it's a satisfying story. Plus, with the fact that it dropped all at once, I like going the week by week because then I get to talk about it, think about it, kind of expand on it. This story to me was more like a one-shot. Hey, Netta, I like the fact that it was all dropped at once because it felt like that. It didn't feel like a story that could go a lot of different places. It felt like a single one-shot, We were just telling one story. And I like that. I think the cast was great. I think Alakwa Cox did a really good job. I love the actors they brought in. They brought Graham Greene in, who is great whenever he's in. And he's probably the most recognizable actor. Let's see. JD says, I feel like the all drop thing might have been because the episode's length, each one is shorter than the last. That's true. And like I said, Marvel's trying different things. With What If, they did them daily drops for 9 days. So, Happy New Year, Nita. Happy New Year to everybody, by the way, if I didn't say that. So I did like that. I like the fact that I could sit down and in a night go through the whole story, which I did. And it almost felt like a movie. It felt a little like a long movie. And I don't even know about a long movie, just like a Kevin Costner length movie. But I kind of treat the first episode separate from the next 4 because it really is all set up and then here's our story. And the story is basically Maya It says she kind of wants to take over Kingpin's empire, but I don't think that's the case. I feel like she's angry and she's trying to get revenge and doesn't know how. She's lost, she's angry, doesn't know where to focus, and decides that, oh, well, I'll take over the empire as the next thing. And it's not what she really wants. And I think her coming home is the best thing for her. Also, in the episodes, we learn about these individual women in her past. And that's important, and it goes towards the way her power changed. Her mom was a healer. There's wisdom. Each one of these women had this different ability that seemed to go back all the way to the original ancestors of the Choctaw tribe. And we learned that those abilities carry through to Maya. She is, and this is the line they use, is that she is the echo of her ancestors before her. And in a way, it kind of gives her her name, which makes a lot more sense because there really isn't a reason she's called Echo in the comics. Here she gets the name Echo, and it makes sense. So that really was a good improvement to me. And again, since they don't want to do the photographic reflexes, it makes sense, you know. Plus, it kind of explains some of the things she did before in the Hawkeye series, that maybe she was tapping a little bit into that. And now it's, you know, more accessible. It does play a lot into the Choctaw tribe, which I think is great. But this is a Marvel Spotlight story, which means that they're more focused on telling a character's story than they are some big, grand story. And it is kept mostly small. I mean, the big part is the Choctaw origin and stuff, but it's basically Maya's story and how it relates to her family, how it relates to Kingpin. And once you bring Kingpin in, it's a little bigger because he's a bigger character. But again, they keep it self-contained. I think it's a good first entry for a Marvel Spotlight. Now, I like the power change, like I said. I like a lot of it. Now, there is a post-credit scene on the last episode only. I'm going to get to that in a second. There's one other thing I want to mention. My one knock on the series, and this seems like a consistent knock I have on all of the Marvel series, is the ending feels a little rushed. It feels like we're building to a big climax, and then the climax happens quickly. And that seems to be consistent through most Daredevil or most Marvel shows, not in the Netflix stuff, but in the MCU stuff. And I really wish they would fix that. But it's not horrible. It doesn't take away too much from the story. It's still a good story. It's a little rushed and convenient. So it seems like it could have been a much bigger fight, a much bigger thing. It could have been, you know, a good battle. And instead it's more a little cutesy. So that's my one knock on the Echo series. Now, the post-credit scene has Fisk has been changed. We don't know how yet. Maya tries to heal him in his past, but don't know how that's going to play out. But what we see is that there is now we hear on the plane that there is a race for mayor of New York, and that nobody's really standing out, and that a dark horse outsider could really jump in and take the race, is what the pundits on the TV are saying. And it's kind of setting up Kingpin to run for mayor of New York, which I think is going to be the big plot for Daredevil Born Again. So in that way, they are setting that up. Now, addressing the Netflix shows coming into the MCU. If you just watch this, there is nothing that says they're 100% connected. There is a moment where Kingpin shows Maya the weapon he used to kill his father. And it's the same type of hammer that was used in the Netflix series. So from that point of view, yes, it could be. But that's it. There's no flashbacks to it. There's no scenes from it. So they could keep them apart. What it does make it seem like they are officially in it now is if you go to Disney Plus, and you know how they break down Marvel in their section into different categories, you could look by timeline, where they go, okay, you start with Captain Marvel, then you go to Captain America, the First Avenger, then you go to Iron Man, and then you go, and then Daredevil shows up, and Jessica Jones shows up, and Luke Cage shows up, and the Defenders, and Iron Fist, and Punisher. They're all now part of the MCU timeline. So nothing in Echo contradicts the Netflix series, but nothing specifically confirms it either. So Marvel could just as easily pull it back out of the timeline, but you never know. But the truck, though, I don't know what you mean, JD. But yeah, so that's where we're at on that. We're probably going to run a couple minutes long, JD, just in case. At the end, talking to the bad guys. Okay, the truck. Yeah, the truck is cool. But it's so out of left field, and who knew Biscuit had that? All right, so those are my thoughts on the Echo series. I think it's a good story. But it's a self-contained, smaller story, which the MCU has been needing to do. They've been going bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it's nice to get a little character-driven story. So I liked Echo. I enjoyed it. It's got flaws. It's definitely chopped up. There's obviously more material that was out there. I don't know if we'll ever see it or not, but what they presented in 5 episodes was a good, fun story, a good story. People will complain about it because people complain about everything. People who don't like when different races or nationalities are pushed in, don't like female leads. You're going to get that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is, it's a movie that it's a series that has a strong female lead. It has a good story. It gives you good history in the Choctaw Nation, and it's entertaining. And that's what you want from a TV show, right? All right. Release the day recut. Okay. All right. We are going to do some Echo key issues. We're going to go back to key issues. So we've got some Echo key issues. We're starting off here. Let's see if you got them. This is, as Reef said earlier, Daredevil number 9 from 1999. First appearance of Echo. High end on this is $80. Median is $18. Low end is $5. Now, this isn't CGC graded. Prices of CG graded are usually higher. Daredevil number 10, which appeared in 2000. This is the origin of Echo and the first appearance of Crazy Horse, Echo's father. High end on this is $25. Mid-range is $8. Low end is $2. You can still pick these up at your local shops pretty cheaply if you want to get them. Daredevil 11 from 2000, first battle between Echo and Daredevil. High end on this is $15, mids $5, low end is $1. And this is some great David Mack stuff. Daredevil 15 from 2001. This is where Echo ends up shooting Kingpin in the head. So you can see from 9 till about 15, 16 is that whole story arc. High end on this is only $4, mid is $2, low end is $1. Quesada cover, by the way. Now we jump all the way to 2003, Daredevil number 51. We get the retelling of the origin of Echo and her connection to Daredevil. We see the handprint in the comics. It's based on her father's handprint on her face when he died, and she used that as her symbol. High end is, you jumped too fast. High end 12, mid 3, low 1. All right, Daredevil 52, the origins of Echo continues, now explaining her connections to Kingpin. High end is 12, mid is 3, low end is 1. And then we go to Daredevil 53, and this is where we learn that Kingpin actually killed Echo's father, or we get to see it. High end is 4, mid is 2, low is $1. Now, New Avengers 11, this is jumping ahead, 2005. This is the first appearance of Maya Lopez as Ronin. High end on this is 25, mid is 8, low is $2. And New Avengers number 39, Echo appears on the cover here, and high end is 5, mid is 2, low is 1. It's a really good cover. And then finally, Avengers 44 from 2021. This is when Echo becomes the new host of the Phoenix Force. High end is 4, mid is 2, low is $1. So there are some good Echo books if you want to pick them up. May go up in value now that the series has come out. You can check that out. And that's going to wrap up the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, stick around for What's in the Box, for the Comic Book Beardies or the Geek Chat. And of course, Sketch Up with Mog and Mel. Jay says, I want Dan to get the views, not his fault. I'm slacking. I'm watching this. Okay, so Jay watched on mute. All right, so you can watch this later again. Just watch it from someone else's account. You get extra views. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you have a great day. We will see you next week. I will be doing the news on Tuesday again, and then we'll have another show on live show on Thursday. So have a great night.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.